morning.
Good morning.
It's such a pleasure for Chris and I to be with you today, and we always will take any excuse to be back to visit Santa Monica. We had many wonderful years here at Mount Olive and in this community, and so thank you, Pastor Jim, and thank you to St. Paul's for the invitation. As Pastor Jim said, I'm Pastor Eric Shafer. After I retired at Mount Olive on July 31st, 22, on August 1st, I flunked retirement and began working with the Reformation Refugee Service. And it's my privilege to travel around the country and talk about the ministry of Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Service and the important work we are doing in your name with immigrants and refugees and migrants from around the world, in this country and around the world. But first, a memory for Reformation Day. 24 years ago, this coming week, on Reformation Day, October 31st, 1999, representatives of the Lutherans and Roman Catholics signed an historic agreement, the Joint Declaration on the Doctrine of Justification. And they signed this agreement at a worship service in the city of Augsburg, Germany. This document, approved by both the Roman Catholic Church and the Lutheran World Federation, this document stated basically that Martin Luther was correct. That as Christians we are justified, that is saved, by God's grace, God's love for us, and that alone, and that we cannot earn our salvation, that salvation is a free gift from God given to us by the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. You know, I'm still amazed after all these years. I mean, the Roman Catholic Church agreed that Martin Luther was right. They formally agreed that our basic Lutheran belief, we're saved by God's grace, God's love alone, is a free gift from God. Now, shortly after that occasion, I took part in a U.S. celebration held at the congregation where Chris and I were members at that time, St. Luke's Lutheran Church in Park Ridge, Illinois. At that worship service, ELCA presiding Bishop H. George Anderson, who had been one of the signers of the Declaration, at that service, Bishop Anderson dialogued about this agreement with the local Roman Catholic bishop at that time, Chicago Archdiocese Cardinal Francis George. The service was really wonderful. But what I remember most vividly came in the Q&A question, the question-and-answer session afterward. A lifelong Roman Catholic laywoman put up her hand. And she asked the cardinal, a little tentatively, she said, "Cardinal, does this mean that the Roman Catholic Church is not the only true church?" This was obviously something she had been taught from little up. And Cardinal George answered without hesitation, "Yes, that is what it means." I'm still amazed by it. At nearly 500 years, after nearly 500 years, the Roman Catholic Church agreed that we are all saved by God's love, by God's grace alone. A basic theme of Martin Luther when we celebrate especially each Reformation Day. Now, both Pastor Berlin and I have been pastors for a long time. Quite a while. And during that while, Jim, I think we've preached on a lot of Reformation Sunday services. And I'm sure we've both preached on the themes of Reformation and the basics of Luther's teaching and our Lutheran faith on this Sunday and many others. Themes like the Joint Declaration statement on salvation, that it comes to us by God's love alone, and the priesthood of all believers, and that the Bible is the cradle of our faith, and how we are both saint and sinner at the same time, and how we are to live in this world but not be conformed to this world. These are all basic and important teachings of Martin Luther and our Lutheran faith that we celebrate, especially each Reformation Sunday. And I suspect, Jim, that you and I both have preached on this gospel lesson from St. John, chapter 8, probably a few times. A lesson which includes these wonderful words: "You will know the truth, and the truth will make you free." The truth will make you free. We've all heard these words before. And you'll find these words posted on many churches, but also on a lot of libraries and education buildings. You'll even find them on the wall of the CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia. I remember these words very early because my older brother Byron made that his favorite saying in his high school yearbook. The point is, these words are everywhere, and even non-Christians know them. The truth will make you free. Well, I'm here today at St. Paul's to share some truths about the these issues of immigration and refugees and migrants. Truths about these issues in 2023, and truth about the work of your ministry partner, Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Service, LIRS, for which, as Pastor Jim told you, I serve as pastor in residence. For nearly 85 years, Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Service, LIRS, has worked with immigrants and refugees from all over this world, helping them resettle here in the U.S. We sometimes forget that after World War II, 1/6 of the world's Lutherans were refugees. Over these 80-plus years, LIRS has helped refugees from Hungary, Cuba, Vietnam, Cambodia, Burma, and so many others. And the work continues today as we help resettle Afghans, Haitians, Ukrainians, and now Venezuelans, among many others. About 70,000 refugees have been settled this year, and LIRS has been involved in about 12,000 of those settlements. We are the largest of the U.S. refugee resettlement agencies. Now, congregations and individuals can still sponsor refugee families, of course, but there are many other ways you can be involved to help immigrants and refugees. And they're all outlined on our LIRS website, which is perhaps around the easiest website to remember because it's lirs.org. I think you can remember that. It helps me that it's so simple too. For example, LIRS is helping the tens of thousands of unaccompanied minor children who enter our country every year. Do you remember the children in cages several years ago? How can we forget? Well, at that time, during the last administration, LIRS was asked by the federal government to find foster care families for these children. And we were able to place more than 5,600 children into foster care. Right now, we're also trying something new. For the first time, we've opened an office outside of the U.S., this one in Guatemala. Guatemala is where nearly 50% of the young people at our southern border have come from recently. And so we're trying to help that nation improve the conditions there, as well as minister to the refugees that are returning so they don't have to come to the U.S. We operate welcome centers all along the U.S. southern border and actually across the USA. We have a welcome center in Fargo, North Dakota, so there are immigrants everywhere. Those centers help those who enter this country seeking asylum get the help to navigate that difficult process. These centers help provide for their physical needs while the asylum process unfolds before them, a process that can take many years. We've recently started a bank to make microloans to immigrants and refugees, and we're working with U.S. businesses who are hungry for workers to fill their many unfilled positions that our immigrant citizens do not wish to take. At our website, there it is again, lirs.org, you'll find information on all of these efforts, plus suggestions for prayer and study, for financial support, for outreach to those in detention centers, for advocacy with local, state, and national leaders, and much more. Right now, for example, we need everyone to be contacting our representatives in Congress to urge them to support the bipartisan Afghan Adjustment Act. And I'm sure there's going to be a similar bill for Ukrainians soon, so that these refugees can remain in the USA. And there on our website, you can also find about how local ways that you can be involved with these issues. And one thing we can all do, no matter what our age is, we can sign up for the LIRS e-newsletter, which you can do on the LIRS website. There are many issues in our nation and in our world in 2023 around the issues of migrants, immigrants, and refugees. Now, after we have our coffee, we'll come back here in the church. I'll have a few more things to say, and we'll have a chance to talk more about these issues. At that time, we'll talk more about the crisis at our southern border, the massive influx of Afghan and Ukrainians and now Venezuelans, refugees into the USA, the breakdown of the U.S. immigration system and infrastructure, as well as the differences between refugees, immigrants, and asylum seekers. Suffice it to say, there are many untruths around these issues, and that it is important, especially on this day when we celebrate the truths of the Reformation, to correct the untruths and work together those who are fleeing violence and poverty in their own lands. All those coming here to the U.S. for a chance of new life for themselves and their children. But I'll get ahead of myself for a minute. Just one of the untruths we'll talk about more in the forum. There's an untruth out there, mostly spread by one particular news station, that there are a massive number of illegal aliens coming into our nation across the southern border. Documented or undocumented, the overwhelming majority of those coming across our southern border are asylum seekers, seeking the right to asylum from political violence in their own country. And since seeking asylum is a basic tenet of U.S. law, that means the majority of those who are arriving here, documented or not, are here legally. You see, when we know the truth, we can be, and we will be free. And that freedom allows you and me the freedom to love and serve others as God loves you and me. Saved by the truth of God's love for us, we are free to love others. Celebrate on this Reformation Sunday. Live together each day.